I'm your host, Davida Shinsky, and you're listening to Live Without Limits, the Dreams Come True with the Right Mindset. Today's presentation is titled, Why Letting Go of Toxic People Will Keep You Sane. And having been raised in a family where it was a toxic relationship for me, I can tell you that if you don't let go and get rid of those toxic people in your life, then you will struggle almost all of your life because they are not going to let you go and they have very low self esteem themselves. They really dislike themselves, and to make themselves feel better, they have to make someone else feel worse about themselves. So, having toxic people around you, even if it's just one person, can feel like re experiencing your worst day over and over again. It's like getting stuck in a horrible deja vu with no obvious way to escape. And in case you don't know what being around a toxic person feels like, it is like finding yourself in a situation where you're constantly lied to, get fed up with excuses, create or cheated on, envied, blamed, abused verbally and physically, which I experienced with both parents, misunderstood, neglected, or drained of all forms of happiness and satisfaction. But that's not all. Toxic people don't just poison your life, they also make it difficult to realize this. They make it look like there was a remedy to the problems and misunderstandings as though doing more would change anything. They make you feel like you need to spend more time with them, give them more money, lavish them with praises, and basically attend to all their whims. But what do you get in return? The opposite. You keep getting blamed for all the problems in the relationship, including things that are obviously out of your control or that are clearly not your fault. The problem is not that toxic people are evil, but they do act logically, or rather, they do not act logically. Their actions, words, and entire world is skewed in such a way that everything they do would have some subtle way of making you feel inadequate or worse, if not in the present, in the near future. They often keep the drama away till they get you to commit, till you are physically, mentally, financially, or emotionally invested in them. It even gets worse when you share a child with them. For example, an unsuspecting individual might meet a seemingly sweet and caring person who would make them feel special and understood, only to begin dating or get married to realize just how self centered and irresponsible they can be. Surprisingly, toxic people make you feel as though you pushed yourself on them and would trap you in conundrums which would make you feel like a horrible person if you even wanted to leave. This could be them feeling of filing cases against you in court so that you can't leave with the children, or telling you that no one would love you because you're a horrible person. Their aim is to disempower their prey, to make them feel like there was some idea that they are not living up to, while in reality it is their sick and twisted desires. The truth is that toxic people are everywhere, on the streets, at work, and even in the family. And it is near impossible not to run into one or two in the course of our lives. And I must admit, it is not always easy to spot them, and it is even harder to escape their influence. But you must keep your eyes peeled and your boundaries firm. It might hurt in the short term to actively block out such people from your life, especially when they are family. But you must realize that in the long term, it would benefit you and your mental health to qualify your life in general. Benefits of ending a toxic relationship. Once you spot a toxic person in your life, cut them off. Limit your interaction with them or set strong boundaries in your relationships. When do you do this? You would realize that you would be free from the need to please them. You don't have to endure the nagging feeling of wanting to do more for them in order to make them happy and feel the need to live up to their expectations. You will no longer feel the need to explain yourself all the time to someone who is bent on making you look bad and doesn't care much about your happiness. You would be free from the need to shoulder their problems, which never seem to end. Your fear of not offending them or embarrassing, intimidating, or making them feel less will disappear as you begin to live unapologetically. You would be free from the constant abuse and neglect that is their baggage, and your mental health would greatly improve as the emotional baggage, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, sadness, and so on that comes with being such in unhealthy relationships are lifted. If you have kids, you would also be saving them from misery. The thing is, when children watch their parents undergo physical, psychological, or sexual abuses, they tend to internalize those as normal. In essence, by permitting yourself to remain in unhealthy relationships, you teach or encourage your children to create or accommodate such in their lives when they come of age. Your self esteem and worth would be restored as you no longer have to listen to demoralizing words all the time. You would have more time to spend with nicer people and have happier moments in life. You would explore your interests without fear of being judged or ridiculed. The dramas would end and you would feel understood and sane. And you would stop feeling as though anyone as other than that they are people would naturally gravitate towards you, making you feel safer and easier, just like a farmer weeds the farmland before planting crops. Sometimes, before good things can come to us, we must first uproot the bad. If you ever find yourself near a toxic person, the only mantra on your mind should be either escape or enough. And the best thing that I can say is by using examples that both of my parents came from homes that were dysfunctional. And when they got together, they created a dysfunctional family. The thing is, they had children with disabilities. And by putting all of that onto their children, then what they were doing was creating a children who were struggling to really have a good self-image. One of the things that helped me was because I went back and I studied psychology and I studied mental health, and that I knew I had the capability to live a better quality of life than they were telling me that I was capable of, because I was born in that era when society did not even recognize its disability community as existing. And it really wasn't until the last few years. And you haven't even seen where they even talk about toxic relationships until now. Because I can remember being sent to school at 12 years old, crying and upset because of something that happened in the home and that I was being blamed for it and disciplined for it. And when you get to the school back then, it was like, oh, this child must be a really bad child, because otherwise, why would they be having to discipline them? And today, if I went to school saying my father hit me, you would have a social worker in the home to find out what's going on. And on my father's side, there was a lot of physical abuse. On my mother's side, there was a lot of emotional and verbal abuse. And when the two came together, they really formed that dysfunctional family. And all of their children have had issues of their own simply because of the home they come from. And because that's the environment that we come from, that's kind of like your comfort zone when you're looking for a long term relationship. Therefore, you have to get a therapist and learn to deal with it and learn to overcome those self limiting beliefs if you want to have a healthy relationship with someone in the future.